Classes in session, hitting the books, college basketball edition, Tuesday, January 7th. Ian Cameron, Connor Mack, and welcome officially to the new format of the college basketball hitting the books show. We'll be with you 3 days a week, starting tonight, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for the rest of the at least the rest of the college basketball regular season. We'll see once we get into conference tournaments and NCAA tournament, the way it'll go. But for the rest of the regular season, it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 shows per week right here at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Usual format. We'll talk about the bigger games, the marquee games. Connor and I will hit on the games we didn't talk about that we like bets on, or bets that we like for games that we didn't discuss. And then, of course, best bets, as usual, to wrap up the show. So let's get into it. We'll begin with Big East action. This is a really good one. St. John's and Xavier. We've got St. John's 1.5-point road favorites, 153 the total in this game. Not an easy, pretty win for St. John's against Butler, but effective. They got the job done. Bounced back from a pretty tough loss they suffered against Creighton right before that. We'll see how they fare here on the road against Xavier, a Musketeers squad that at the Cintas Center can be pretty difficult. You look at the matchup here, you got certainly two teams that are capable at the offensive end. It should be a brisk pace type of game, which is why this total is in the 150s like it is. I certainly lean to this game going over the total. I think I like Xavier a little bit at +1, slight home underdog. St. John's, certainly a talented group. There's no denying that. I think going to Xavier won't be easy. The Musketeers, I think, have played a lot better in recent weeks after a bit of a slow start to the year. As a slight home dog, I think there is some value with Xavier, the X-Men, if you will, here in this one. C-Mac, a good one in the Big East. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, St. John's is a better team and really been playing well all year. Even these couple road games, they're slight wins, tight losses. I can't back them. They seem like they're going to shoot better. I mean, it's always good if you go 1 for 21 from 3. In their last game and still beat Butler is good because they couldn't make anything in 37% from the field overall. But I think this is just a desperation here. Wins spot for Xavier. No. Fremantle's back. So those are road losses, right, to Cincy and UConn. And then the tight home loss to Marquette, beat Seton Hall. And then, of course, Georgetown. They were very good. Georgetown's defense continues to be really, really well. So I think it's a game at home they really need to win. So I like it. I'm on them.
Great matchup. Maybe the game of the night of the entire slate tonight. We've got Tennessee and Florida. Florida Gators, 3-point home favorites, 151 the total in this game. There are so many seasons where you see an undefeated team playing their first road game in conference play. And that's usually the spot they get tripped up. Now, I'm not saying that means Tennessee's going to lose tonight, but Florida's really good. They can go toe-to-toe with Tennessee. I actually think Florida might be the better offensive team. Tennessee's certainly the better defensive team. But I think the home court, Florida coming off the loss to Kentucky, it was such a hard-fought game. It ended up 106-100. They lose to the Kentucky Wildcats Saturday, that thrilling game that went to overtime early in the day. I like Florida in a bit of a bounce back. Like I said, Tennessee is a terrific team. Zakai Ziegler's been there at the point guard spot forever. Milicic, Chaz Lanier, they play great defense. But Florida at home, this has been a pretty good place for them in Gainesville. They're unbeaten, 7-0 on this home floor. They're coming off the Kentucky loss. They've got an array of shooting that, quite frankly, Tennessee, the last time they probably saw a team that was this good offensively was Illinois, and they escaped with their lives with a 2-point win at Illinois. I think you can argue Florida maybe even be better than Illinois. So I like Florida here. I took a money line to hand Tennessee their first loss of the season. What do you think here, C-Mac? Tennessee, Florida.
Yeah, I think if you look at this game, especially after a team that was just 106-100 that they just lost. But I think it's the under here. Hot shooting could take it over. In these matchups, too, the last 10, none have gotten over this number. They're normally in the 130s. Tennessee has to play defense to win this game, I think. But I know that's what needs to travel. And you mentioned the Illinois game, another team that can get up and down, 66-64. I don't know if they win it. I just love their defense. I think this game slows down a little bit. The other one, Kentucky, I think it's a little low in their game we'll get to. I kind of lean over. But in this one, I look at the under here.
All right, we stay in the SEC with that's a great matchup, though it is Kentucky and Georgia. We've got the Kentucky Wildcats that we just talked about, fresh off that crazy wild overtime win against Florida. Now they got to go on the road to Athens, take on Georgia, the Bulldogs. We've got Kentucky 2-point road favorites. The total in this game 152. I'm surprised the totals come down this low. Mike White's team willing to run. Kentucky, we know that's the way they play. They're excellent offensively. See, whereas the 151 in the Florida game, I don't love that one over. I like this one over now that it's fallen to 152. I think we're going to see some points here. Look, I think Kentucky's the better team in this game of these two, but they're coming off the big win. There's only their second true road game of the season. Their only previous one was at Clemson, which they lost. It's worth pointing out. So tough spot here for Kentucky off the big win. Georgia's chomping at the bit. With Kentucky coming in, looking for a marquee win. It's definitely a Georgia spot. Question is, do you trust them, and do you think they're the better of these two teams? Because I don't think they are. I still think Kentucky could win this game, but I can't argue the spot is clearly a Georgia spot. It's screaming out, take Georgia here. So we'll see how it goes. I'd still probably lean Georgia just because of that, but I am worried because I do think Kentucky's better than them. And I certainly like Mark Pope a lot better than Mike White. Coaching wise, what do you think here, C-Mac, Kentucky, Georgia?
Yeah, I think just their sheer talent could win this game, but it isn't an easy spot at all. And Georgia, for all those years, I mean, it seemed like they got their ass kicked even at home to Kentucky, but been better the last few years and had a few wins here at home. I thought too, like we just touched on, this was the over. I agree with you. Here's what I like that under in the other game. I think this is a little light. I mean, how many, kind of games this low of a total will get with Kentucky? There hasn't been many even start out, really. Here, man, I can't even remember the last one. Let me grab it right here. Where they ever have a total this low? No. I mean, what's their other one? 154? Of course, They were playing Brown there.
It's low for Kentucky.
So, yeah. I think there's points here. This was one I've been looking at all day, so I kind of get there. I think it's kind of a flip. I do like this Georgia team. I think this is kind of a spot that they can win the game.
All right, Arizona, West Virginia, Big 12. We've got Arizona 3.5-point road favorites now here in Morgantown, 144 being the total in this game. I mean, West Virginia, man, you're talking about how a good coach can really help a team. Darian DeVries has done a nice job here at West Virginia. Former Drake head coach, brought his kid with him, Tucker, to West Virginia. They're kind of a package deal. Tucker DeVries.
He's out, though.
Right? He's out. Exactly. Tucker DeVries is out. He did not play against Oklahoma State. Now, it didn't matter. They still won convincingly over the
He didn't play, real quick, he didn't play against Kansas either, right?
No, he did not. He did not in that game either, and they got the win against Kansas. So they've clearly shown the ability to win and cover point spreads without him, and he's like a big part. And this is not a deep team. They don't have a great bench at all, West Virginia. They really play a tight 6-7-man rotation. So when you lose a guy like Tucker DeVries, it matters even more when you don't have a deep bench either. So this is a tricky game because to me, how can you go against West Virginia? They're a home dog. They just keep winning. They've beaten good teams. They've managed to still win without Tucker DeVries. Here's why I'm worried about taking them. West Virginia played Arizona on a neutral earlier this year, and West Virginia upset Arizona. 6.5-point dog. They won 83-76. It's actually an in-season revenge spot here for Arizona. And Arizona, as much as I've had some concerns about their consistency and relying too much on Caleb Love, they had I think one of their better games, especially defensively, when they went to Cincinnati and they won over the weekend, 72-67. I was impressed. I was like, wow, that's better from Arizona. And Caleb Love finally got some help. Jaden Bradley had 15 points. Carter Bryant stepped up with 14 points. It wasn't just all on Caleb Love, the burden of the offense. And they played probably one of their best defensive games they've played all season. Now they have some confidence. They showed they can win on the road. They're trying to avenge a loss earlier to West Virginia. All of those factors, and no DeVries again, said, you know what? Maybe West Virginia is catching 3.5 for a reason, and maybe people are betting Arizona like they have been in the last 24 hours for a reason. So I'm not on Arizona, but I saw enough warning signs to take me off betting West Virginia here. CMAC, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this game just is funky, smells foul, in this one. In that game, Arizona, the last one on the road, as much as I thought their defense was a little bit better, Cincinnati's can't shoot. I mean, we saw it. The first half was awful, and they were horrible from the line again, 12-23. So while I think they're a pretty good basketball team, yeah, and this is moved to 4 now here. Man, it's like I know he's out, and that maybe it kind of catches up to him. But at home, and they, why they won those games, and why I think they could be. And this was their defense. They shut down Kansas for that long time. They tried to come roaring back and lost, and they just held Oklahoma State to 50 points. And you talked about their short offensively, but that's how they're going to win this game if they are. So I'd lean under in the spot. But yeah, it's just everything I'm going to watch. And this was the game with West Virginia they already beat, earlier in the year. So I don't think I need to get involved in game 2.
Yeah, we're both on the same page. Kind of want to pass. Good game to watch, but like I said, a little bit tricky from a betting perspective. All right, Pitt and Duke. Maybe lean under if Arizona brings the defense again. So maybe that's a lean I'll throw out there, under in that game. Pitt and Duke. We've got Duke 14.5-point home favorites. 143 the total here in this game. I mean, Duke's been certainly a bit of a freight train here the last few games, the way they have played. That was impressive to go on the road against SMU and just wax the Mustangs like that. Very impressive. Flag has been absolutely outstanding, of course, and had another strong game in the victory against SMU for this Duke team. Their offense is definitely firing on all cylinders. They've hit the 80s in 3 straight games, led, of course, by Cooper Flag, but don't forget about, Tyrese Proctor. There's just a bunch of guys that can definitely fill it up here for Duke. And when they bring the defense, they become very dangerous. They've won 8 in a row. They've smacked down 3 straight ACC opponents, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, SMU. We'll see if they can keep that rolling here against Pitt. But Pitt's 12-2. Now, Pitt, I think when you look at their schedule, their only 2 losses were at Mississippi State and against Wisconsin. And Wisconsin, we're finding out, it's a hell of a team. This could be the best Wisconsin team since Bo Ryan coached them. What a win for them last night on the road against Rutgers. They keep getting the job done. So no bad losses here for Pitt. If Duke shows up and dominates and plays a great 40-minute floor game again, certainly they could cover. But I'm going to step in and take my chance here, Connor Mack, with Pitt. Plus 14.5, plus 15 in this spot at Cameron Indoor. You look at this head-to-head matchup, and last year at Duke, Pitt went in there as a 12.5-point dog and beat them outright, 80-76. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but they showed they could handle this environment. This is always a special game for Jeff Capel, head coach at Pitt. He was an assistant under Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, for years before he got the Pitt job. So there's those ties to Duke and this building that he has. So he always gets up to probably coach against this Duke team. I think it's just a few too many points in this spot. At some point, Duke's going to have do enough to win and maybe not crush a team. And Pitt may not be a team they're capable of crushing. Pitt's a pretty good basketball team, and I think it's too many points here. CMAC, Pitt, Duke, what do you think?
I know it seems like a ton, especially for a Pitt team that's, been good against the numbers. So's Duke. And I think they've been doing that, just been so good defensively. Even inside, their length's been good and around the rim. At least this early, I've been impressed with Duke defensively. Normally, I don't say that. But Pittsburgh's got a couple wins on the road. I think the Ohio State was on a neutral, or the Wisconsin was. So I think they're there. This seems like it's like the 10-point win. Pitt has some shooters, too. The shots drop. This is like probably the 10-point win. But Duke, if they kind of get rolling at home, it could be like we've seen 25-30 point win like we kind of see in the past. So I think it's kind of just, there's especially from deep, Pitt's hot. They're in it. If they're not, they could get rolled.
All right, Clemson and Louisville. Staying in the ACC, we've got Louisville 3.5-point home favorites, 146.5 the total. I'm a big Pat Kelsey fan. I am. I think he was a great hire by Louisville. Anybody's a good hire after Kenny Payne. I get it, but nevertheless, I think, he's going to turn this program around, make them respectable, and he's already on the way to doing that. I thought they hung tough with Duke for a good part, even though they lost that game. They hung tough at Kentucky at Rupp Arena. They lost by 8, but covered the number. They've now won 4 in a row. They have a win against North Carolina, very impressive win. They beat down Virginia. I know it's not the same Virginia team, but they look like a team getting better and better, which you would expect under a guy that's a good coach like Pat Kelsey. I think it's their spot to hand Clemson a loss here. Let's see what Clemson can do away from home. I've still got question marks. They're great at Little John Coliseum, but let's not forget they recently went to South Kakalaki and they got destroyed in that. Well, not destroyed, but they were down big. They came back. They made it a close game, but they still lost 91-88. I think it's not going to be easy going to the Yum Center here in Louisville. I like Louisville here as a short home favorite. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with this game at all. I don't trust Louisville. The wins have been good lately. This team still struggles to shoot the ball well, and of course they had to deal with those injuries. It's good now that they're playing better after kind of the hiccup with all those injuries that they dealt with. And at Clemson, I want to back them more at home. But a team, Louisville. One thing about laying this 3.5 or so. They're not a team that's great from the free throw line. I just don't want to lay points. Kind of short number. It was a pass.
Georgia Tech, Syracuse, another ACC matchup. Syracuse 1-point home favorites, 155.5 the total. These are two teams that are really sketchy. I mean, both of them. I mean, they've not been great. I mean, I don't think these are Hall of Fame coaches coaching these teams either. I mean, Damon Stoudemire's kind of had a tough struggle here for Georgia Tech. Don't love the Syracuse coach. I think flip a coin, maybe home court's the difference. Lean slightly to Syracuse, but what I do like is over in this game. I don't know how you trust either of these teams defensively. I mean, both of these teams can give up a lot of points. I think it's probably a high-scoring game. Probably the best way to bet it is over. Kind of tricky to trust either side, but I'll lean slightly to the home court here with Syracuse. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, the defense has Syracuse's. I mean, Georgia Tech's numbers have not been very good, and even Syracuse's too. I get it. I just think that total was a little bit too high at this number. When I kind of looked at it, I think it's either right at the 150 is where you wanted to be if I want to mess with this over. And yeah, talk about just a flip of a coin. I mean, holy shit. I don't want my money on either of these teams right now. I kind of want to look to Georgia Tech as a home dog, catching maybe double digits where they've been a little bit better and have an upset while they're in conference play. But yeah, I'm off here.
All right, Nebraska and Iowa. Big Ten action. Iowa 4-point home favorites, 160.5 the total. Look, Iowa got completely obliterated, destroyed, embarrassed by Wisconsin on Friday night at the Kohl Center in Madison. That was ugly. Well, they gave up 116 points in that game. Certainly you would think bouncing back on defense is going to be the emphasis here for Fran McCaffrey's team. But at the same time, when have they ever played defense under this coach? They haven't, not consistently, this Iowa team. And this clear Iowa spot, I don't deny that. Because Nebraska's coming in off the big home win against UCLA, which was a nice – I was on Nebraska. I think we both liked Nebraska against UCLA at home. Now they're going on the road, an angry team trying to show some redemption here, Iowa, after that embarrassment at Wisconsin. I just still cannot – even with the spot being Iowa's, this is clear Iowa spot, I can't lay points with this team defensively. I can't do it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I just don't think they are a good enough defensive team, even in a spot like this, to trust them laying 4 in this game. I think it's over or pass as far as the total. Both teams are going to run. Nebraska's not scared of pushing pace. And I honestly think Nebraska's better than Iowa. So it's at the point now where it's gone up to 4. If it gets any higher, I might have to fade this Iowa spot move. And I get it. It's an Iowa spot because an all-time embarrassment that was against Wisconsin. But I think Nebraska's flat out better. If this gets any higher, I'm going to put some Huskers in my pocket. I have to if it gets much higher than +4. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, right now Nebraska is better. They've showed it a little more last year and this year. They're playing better on the road, where it's just been a problem for them in years past. And it's been the defense. And that's what's going to keep them in this game. When you go through all these, that's what's shown out the most, I think, other than, of course, the Michigan State, where they went there and got, their ass kicked. I do think it's the Iowa spot. You know where I'd look to them? Because I don't want to mess with them full game at all. This should get better, but a team that shoots 39%, they shoot a decent amount of threes. It's only a 67% from the line. It's just off the band. It's like, what the hell? Like, how's a team so good from three? These teams can't make their fucking free throws. So I'd look, if you like, I wouldn't mess full game. I'd be on Iowa early and often, see if they can get hot in first half. So that was my lean in this game.
Cincinnati, Baylor. Baylor, 5.5-point home favorites, 139 the total. I like Baylor in this spot. Clearly, it was not a good game for them last time at Iowa State. They ran into Hilton Magic. No shame in that. We liked Iowa State on Saturday, so kind of figured it would be tough. Baylor struggled historically against Iowa State, but now they're back home. I think it's a good bounce-back spot. They're 7-0 here at Foster Pavilion in Waco. Last time they were here, they destroyed Utah 81-56. Now, Cincinnati's better than Utah, but Cincinnati going on the road. I faded Cincinnati the last road game at Kansas State. The Tang Gang and the Wildcats got the job done against the Bearcats in that game. Baylor in a bounce-back spot. I laid the 5.5. You could also maybe think of Cincinnati team total under. We just talked about how in the Arizona loss, they struggled to shoot. I don't think it's going to get any easier against a pissed-off Baylor team for that team to score and shoot the basketball. So I like Baylor minus 5.5, but another thing you could consider if you like Baylor, Cincinnati team total under. Could be an offensive struggle for them once again. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I look at Baylor. I look at them early here, first half. That's where I'd want to jump on them. I don't mind the full game to under 6. I just have a problem with them defensively still. And sometimes it just rolls because being at home, crowd's going wild, and you just go on one of those 20-4 runs. But, I mean, over time, I really don't want to be backing them until I see something different from them defensively or just kicking some small school's ass. And Cincy, I think, will play a little bit better. At least their defense could keep them in it. But, yeah, this was nothing for me. Cincy, too, really great under team. This is a low total.
All right, next up, we've got Auburn and Texas. Big SEC action. Auburn 10.5-point road favorites, 149.5 the total. So Auburn has played. This is their second true road game. They've only played one, and it was at Duke. They lost. Don't even think about comparing Texas to Duke. There is no comparison. Duke is so much better than Texas. It's not even funny. So, I get it. We like our home underdogs. I'm a guy that likes a good old home dog. I know C-Mac does. I can't touch this one. Auburn is just so much better than Texas. Rodney Terry ain't it for me. We just saw Texas get blown out at Texas A&M. They have not stepped up in class well. UConn on this floor came into Austin and beat them by 11. UConn. I've got Auburn even higher than UConn right now. So if UConn's going to Texas and beating this team by 11, what is Auburn capable of? This is actually one where I'd lay the road favorite. What do you think here, C-Mac?
I know. I saw this. I can't take Texas. This, especially after basically, I think it was a tie ball game versus A&M to just lose by 20, get fucking blown out of the building.
Bam. Yeah.
That's what I worry about them with their shooting. I think their defense is pretty good. It's kept them in games. Like you're gonna need that tonight and the crowd going wild. Because I'm like, man, this is a perfect spot. But Auburn, yeah, I mean, one's just Duke. We talked about how we think that team is, and this is right up there with them. And that was a tight loss. But it's not easy to go out. I just can't look at either. It was a pass for me too. It's not that I'm running for Auburn either. Want to lay 11. I mean, it's dropped to 10 too.
Yeah, I a small bet for me on Auburn. I just think they're a lot better. And if UConn's going to win by 11 in Texas, then certainly I think Auburn's capable. And that's another thing, too. If Texas has one of those droughts and one of those times where the transition defense is not there, a run like A&M put together against them, Auburn can make it look like 20-2 run if they're going to play like that against Auburn. Here tonight. Yeah, so that's the danger.
I know. I was looking to make everything to take Texas in this game. I couldn't do it.
It's difficult. Here's a dog I do like. I think we're getting a buy low here because they looked so bad at home against Duke. Maybe a little overreaction. SMU, North Carolina. I like SMU a little bit here. I know it was a bad game for them against Duke, But I don't know. North Carolina, there's still something about them where I'm not always trusting them laying the points like this. They're laying 6.5, 166.5. Obviously, a huge total. There's going to be plenty of pace. Both teams play with an extreme fast tempo, so that's a big part of it. You got them off a blowout loss. North Carolina, too, coming off the incredible 4-point play in the dying seconds of the game to beat Notre Dame. Just an unreal finish to escape past the Fighting Irish, 74-73 on Saturday. But this team's been overvalued. They've only got 2-point spread covers, North Carolina, in their last 10 games. Tight games. 1-point win against Notre Dame, 2-point win against UCLA, 3-point win at home against Georgia Tech, who are not very good. Not a lot of evidence that North Carolina is a team we can trust to win by margin, and SMU's off a blowout home loss to Duke. If they show up here, I think they're in this game. So I'm taking SMU. CMAC, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they could hang around. This was one I was maybe hoping was a few more points. This one's going to get up and down. I mean, obviously we got a high total. It could get over this number. I could see that definitely happening. This game in the mid-80s, both these teams. SMU, I think they'll shoot it better, a team that's pretty good, especially from deep. And why North Carolina doesn't run and hide away is the defense. It just, for a team like that, they got to do it. And even in these home games, I think they only dropped one, but they got their ass kicked at Alabama, and then the other ones have been tight, like you just mentioned. So to me, it's SMU or nothing here. At least they played better. Maybe even a first half with SMU after just getting that ass waxed against Duke.
Yeah, it's very possible that we see it, like I said, a really spirited start here, at least for SMU after the Duke game. And again, North Carolina, they've not been good being asked to win by margin here in recent games. All right, Texas Tech and BYU. BYU 1.5-point home favorites, 148.5 the total. BYU, ugly is the word to describe their last game, but that was at Houston, the Battle of the Cougars. And Houston makes a lot of teams look like that when they go to the Houston to play the Houston Cougars, and BYU on the receiving end of a 86-55 beatdown. But the last time they were at home, they also beat a Arizona State team that's been pretty solid by 20. Clear bounce back spot here against a Texas Tech team that they've been all over the place. I mean, they beat Syracuse, they lost to St. Joe's, they beat Utah blowout fashion last game, but they lost at home as double-digit favorites to UCF. There's just been zero consistency for Texas Tech. I'm pretty sure I'm getting BYU's A game here after the evisceration at the hands of Houston. It's only 1.5. You can take BYU minus 120, minus 125 on the money line. The Marriott Center's been kind to them, not only this season, but in years past. I think it's BYU for me. CMAC, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised this has gone down to 1.
Yeah,
what's going on here?
Yes, that's what you want.
Yeah, because I think it's a great spot. Like, all those where they went on the road and got their ass, and then, of course, go to Houston, can't get it done. Like, this seems way better at home. That was the game that I wanted. I think it was a Saturday, that Arizona State game. The line was big. That's maybe why I didn't take it. It was 9.5, but I was like, man, this is great for BYU at home. They just shoot it way, way better. And Texas Tech, after that just beating down Utah, that's usually good at home, they've been dealing with their own kind of problems, this Utah team. I know it's not a crazy travel, but man, like, to me, it's BYU or nothing here.
Yeah,
a team that I don't back too much, but at home, in a game, I think after just playing horrible, you see them play terrible. Of course, it's Houston. And then you see Texas Tech win by 30, and everyone's, I think it's flipped. It's BYU or nothing here. They need to be better from the line, too, BYU. When I was watching some of their games, they were clanking free throws. They need to get better.
I'm still getting used to this. Our next game here, Michigan and late night basketball here on the East Coast. But that's because they're in the new look Big Ten, which includes some of these West Coast teams. And here they are traveling to the West Coast to take on UCLA. Michigan, UCLA, Bruins 3-point home favorites, 142 the total. UCLA, they're traveling back from Lincoln, where they lost to the Nebraska Cornhuskers over the weekend. They're looking to bounce back. Michigan took care of business against a USC team that is still rebuilding would be the best word to describe it. It's a work in progress for Musselman there at USC, and definitely Dusty May and Wyoming were the better team going into that, and they took care of business. They won and covered at USC. I was on the over in that game. I actually lean over in this game, and we think of UCLA as a defensive team, but UCLA has also shown in the North Carolina game, some of the other games where, they're willing to kind of run and go with the pace of their opponent. And, that's what you're going to get from Michigan. There's plenty of pace here in this game. So 142, just for Michigan, it feels a little bit light. I get it. It's lower because UCLA, pretty good defensive team. They don't play fast, but I do like the over a little bit at 142. This is another one where it's definitely a spot advantage for UCLA. They're back home off a loss to Nebraska. That being said, they are coming back from all the way to Nebraska. Michigan's been out on the West Coast, for the last few days because they were at USC over the weekend, and they stay in LA. So it's not the situational scheduling, travel situational advantage for UCLA that you would think. Michigan has actually stayed in California the last few days. UCLA is coming back from Lincoln, Nebraska. So keep that in mind when it comes to this game. CMAC, what do you think? Michigan, UCLA.
Yeah, you got to keep that in mind. And UCLA just dealing with some injuries here, with a few guys out. And Daly didn't play last game. I think it's pretty key. They're pretty slim down below. I think he would need to be in. That's why in this line's kind of come down to Michigan. But 6'8", he's been pretty good. He's missed. He's had some bad games, but when he plays well, especially with UCLA struggling to score at times, he's pretty key for him. So that's just a weight there. I actually think this game could see some more points. Initially, when I look at UCLA, I want unders in their games. I can't hear with those guys out. I couldn't do it at all.
Some defense out of your lineup off the floor with those injuries, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. Michigan wants to get up and down, especially if they're hot. But UCLA for sure wants to slow this down. They could take any team and kind of bring a game way down. We saw it with Gonzaga and others. Just too much going on here a little bit for me.
All right, we got two Mountain West games to end up our marquee game previews here for this edition of the show. We got New Mexico and Wyoming. The Lobos 7-point road favorites, 145.5 the total in this game. New Mexico with the escape against Nevada Friday night. A lucky winner with my best bet on Friday's show, right? I had over Nevada, New Mexico. We needed overtime to get there, but we got there, and it is a winner at the end of the day. Even if it was lucky, we'll take it. But New Mexico gets the escape 1-point win against Nevada at home. Now they go on the road, and we've talked about Wyoming in this home dog role multiple times already. We both liked them against Nevada when they won outright as a home dog against Nevada. Heartbreaker, I think we were on them against Boise, and they were leading a good part of that game and covering most of it, and Boise State covers right at the end. Boise wins by 9 and just barely covers the number there at Wyoming. But for the most part, there's been a Wyoming team on this floor. They've been very, very strong. I like them here in this spot. And to me, the matchup bodes well for Wyoming. New Mexico, the one thing that sometimes becomes a problem for them is when a team can just grind it down, slow it down, force you to play in the half court. And that's sometimes where you can get New Mexico, to struggle, and you get them frustrated a little bit. And Wyoming plays that kind of style that could really grate on a team like New Mexico that wants to get out in the open floor and transition. So I like the matchup. It's one of those games where Wyoming can really drag this into a mud fight, and that's the way it is. New Mexico wants this up and down. Wyoming wants to slow this down, and Wyoming's been able to do it. Look at the home games. Nevada, 66-63. Boise State, 67-58. Low possessions, low-scoring basketball those last two games, and they're going to try to drag New Mexico that way as well. I like Wyoming here. I'm always interested when they're getting these kind of points at home. I think it's a tough game for New Mexico here. Maybe they win, but I don't think they're going to win easily. CMAC, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a tough spot. I thought Nevada would give their best effort, and we got it, even though they lost that game. They lost and went to 0-4 in conference. This is just a tough travel spot. I have to though. Before I bet, this is the wait for me. Their best player needs to be on the floor. He missed against Air Force. Uh, Obi Ogben, he averages 17 points. I need him in here, man. Like he's too good to this team. I think he plays. It's his ankle. Like I don't think it's that bad, but he's got to be in. If he's out, I'd lean that way. But I'd want him in. Like he's in. This game I think is tight because it's just a tough spot for New Mexico. Still, we see with them defense is a problem as well as they could score. It's just been tough for them. I got to give a shout out because I run Jerry Davis, Canes Nation, my dude, Justin McAvee, as always, Al Cervec, my man, everyone in here. I'm going to touch on this game right before I go for our guy, golf guy, SIU Edwardsville, Eastern Illinois. He wanted to hit on. I didn't have much. I leaned to Eastern Illinois in this game. This was one I think a couple more points would be valuable. These teams, as we said, are just awful on the road, better at home. Yep. And to start the year, I thought Eastern Illinois played a lot better when I was going through some of these games, and they haven't been as great. Edwardsville, as of course, plays a lot of road games, and they're 2-5. But I don't think they should be laying any points to anybody. When you look at these teams, they shoot it bad. Turnovers, they're not good from anywhere. That's all kind of equal to me. Maybe Edwardsville, it's in some things is maybe slightly better defensively. But I just wanted to hit on that question. I would take if you got a 3 with them. I don't know if there's any out there. That'd be my lean.
Yeah, I noticed he asked us about that game specifically on Twitter X. And yes, you can do that. If you have a question about a specific game, absolutely. Throw it in the YouTube chat, throw it on Twitter X, and we'll do our best to answer it. But I'm with you. EIU for me in that game. It is a bet for me at +3.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Illinois. And look, I still can't get out of my head that one of Edwardsville's losses on the road was Green Bay. That program's a disaster. Doug Gottlieb is running that program into the ditch. And somehow Edwardsville got blown out by 25.
Shit show.
Yeah, Edwardsville got blown out by 25 at Green Bay at the Resch Center earlier this year. That tells you all you need to know about how you can't trust Edwardsville on the road, especially as favorites. So, yeah. Eastern Illinois, I'm in agreement there with that.
All right, I got to run.
Oh, you do?
End
okay.
it real quick. Yeah.
Quickly. Any games you bet and best bet quickly before we let you go. Best bet.
I like Buffalo at home. And some of the games we didn't talk about. Buffalo, ugly dog here. +12. I mean, come on. Why is this team laying points here at all? Ohio. -12.
That's a lot, though. It is. Yeah.
No way. Buffalo, +12. Ugliest dog on the board. Give it to me. Later.
All right, there you go, C-Mac. Good to see you, my friend. He's got to bounce early. Appreciate it. Connor Mack with us here. All right, UNLV and Boise State. Last marquee game. Boise State, 8.5-point favorites, 139 the total. I like Boise in this spot. I know UNLV has been, a bit of a feisty team at times. But I think when you look at this particular situation, you got UNLV. They've won 4 in a row. A lot of it's been home cooking, and the one road win was at Air Force, which isn't saying a lot. Now, I know they were competitive against Dayton as well on the road, but Boise's coming off the setback against San Diego State. It's a Boise State team that's very good here at the Extra Mile Arena. It used to be Taco Bell Arena way back in the day. But definitely, I think this situation here, Boise off the loss to San Diego State, kind of a bounce back situation. They've handled UNLV pretty well historically. They had won 8 straight times over UNLV until UNLV beat them here actually last year, 68-64. That was then, though. This is now. Boise for me, -8, 8.5. I do like them here quite a bit. In this one. All right, there you go. That's the marquee games. Just quickly, games we didn't talk about that I have bets on for the slate tonight. I like Tulsa UTSA over 155.5. Neither of those teams play defense. I think I like Tulane a little bit, +8.5 against UAB. UAB is still not a team that I know they wiped out their last opponent, but Tulane is starting to play better. I like Ron Hunter as a coach. I think Tulane getting 8.5 is worth a shot there against UAB. Kansas State, Oklahoma State's a tricky game. K-State's had some road issues. I think they're the better team, but they've had some issues on the road. I could see Oklahoma State winning that. So Oklahoma State money line, I have a small play on that. I took a shot with an ugly dog here, Utah. just because Iowa State's off the big blowout win against Baylor. Utah's kind of sense of they're not good this year, Utah, but just felt like it could be a bit of a run-of-the-mill performance from Iowa State tonight that you may not see their best. So Utah plus, 18 when I bet it. It's down to 17. I think it's worth a small look there. I'm going to take Georgetown plus 13.5 against Marquette. I know Marquette's strong home court, but they haven't always been consistent as these double-digit favorites at covering numbers. Georgetown's been undervalued from day one. We have to start talking about what a great fucking job Ed Cooley's done as head coach here at Georgetown. He's done a great job. We know the solid work he did at Providence for many, many years. This is a team finally playing a little bit of defense. I'm going to have to see it that Marquette's going to win this game going away. Georgetown's been a real feisty team, and now that they're getting 13.5, I'll take a shot with the Hoyas here at this number. I'm on Fresno in the over against Colorado State. Fresno's feisty. They're competitive. They covered a big double-digit spread against UNLV recently. I don't think Colorado State's good enough right now to be laying 15. So I like the over. We should see points. Fresno plays fast. Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. See, the thing is, I think Mississippi State is better roster, and I like Chris Jans, but I really like Mark Byington. They hired him from James Madison. He's already done such a great job at Vandy here in this first year. Vandy gets better and better, it looks like, when I see them every single game. I'm too much of a Byington fan and a Vandy fan to go against them. It's a great game, though. I will say that. I actually lean the other side, Vandy, in that game. But again, that's a really good game. Two good teams, two good coaches, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. I like Missouri laying 7 against Missouri. Missouri laying 7 against LSU, I should say. Bounce back for them after the Auburn game. No shame in losing at Auburn. Auburn is a difficult place to play. I still don't know if LSU is that good, to be quite honest with you. I think Missouri laying 6.5, 7 against LSU. I would go in that direction. They're very good at home more often than not as well. Took a small shot with San Jose State, too. San Jose State's one of these teams that, when they're getting 9.5, 10, especially as a home underdog, Utah State's played great. This is a really good team. They could win the Mountain West, Utah State, but I don't know if I love them in this spot. Loyola Marymount's covered 3 in a row against St. Mary's, and I think Loyola Marymount 14 or better is worth a look against St. Mary's. Hasn't been an automatic covering a big number for me this year. And Loyola Marymount's been feisty. They're coming off a blowout loss to Gonzaga. So I think the Lions are going to want to have a better showing here in this game. Again, historically, they have given St. Mary's tougher, closer games than the point spread indicates. So I think at 14, Loyola Marymount LMU is probably worth a bet as well, in my opinion. All right, there we have it. That's about it. That's all I got. CMAC had to bounce just a few minutes early because he's got to be somewhere. So with that in mind, best bets, he already gave you his CMAC. Buffalo plus 12 against Ohio, a little Maction. That is what Connor Mack is going to go with for his best bet. My best bet, I'm going to go to the late night game, Wyoming, New Mexico. I'm taking Wyoming here. I got plus 7.5 with there are a couple 7.5 still out there, but 7's good too. I think it's a down to the wire game, and I like taking this Wyoming Cowboys team that's plays tough, physical, good defense, good at home. They stay in games. I think they're going to make life difficult here for New Mexico to win this game by margin. So Wyoming plus 7.5 against New Mexico. See if we can keep this best bet streak rolling. We cashed one on Friday. See if we can cash another one here. Wyoming plus the points against New Mexico for my best bet here for this Tuesday edition of the College Basketball Hitting the Books show. Shout out one more time to everyone in the chat. Kent Davies, Justin McKelvey, G. Martinez, Al Servik, Canes Nation, Miles, I already said Miles Johnson, but everyone in the chat, Kent Davies, we appreciate all of you. Hit the like button on the way out. Reminder, this show will be 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time. That's a wrap. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games, and good luck. We'll be back with you tomorrow on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, for another edition of the College Basketball Hitting the Books show. Until then, class dismissed.